Welcome back to Adventure in Art. My name is Ben Staley. I'm your resident talking head. This is a series about portraiture, different topics related to portraiture. Maybe you want to be a portrait photographer, you want to shoot people, you like faces. I like faces, maybe you like faces. The last video was about how to establish a rapport with your subject. I have more to say about this, so this video is also about that. It's part 2 of that subject. This is a portrait of Countess. Yes, that's her name. This is one of my favorite portraits of all time. I really just love this photo. Now, Countess is a model. She used to live in Los Angeles. I took this picture 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. It's hard to remember. But this is in my studio. If you're new to the channel and you don't know about my studio, there is a playlist below with all of my portrait videos, and most of them were shot in my studio. So you'll learn about my studio if you watch some of those videos. This shot was taken in my studio. This is Countess. Now, when Countess showed up at my studio, she seemed very, what's the word I should use? Fragile. She's very, very petite and small, and she just seemed fragile, like almost emotionally fragile. And she was trembling, and her voice was wavering, although she seemed very keen to take some pictures, ready to go, friendly, nice, like personable, all that stuff. There was a fragility to her, and I sensed it. And so I just started right away trying to be very kind and compassionate to Countess. And we start talking. Like I said in the last video, I will just start talking, asking questions of people, getting to know them, trying to build a rapport. And I do this before I even bring the camera out. Hey, what's going on? How are you? So we start talking, and she goes, do you know so-and-so, the actor? And I said, yeah. She's like, that's my dad. No way. Are you serious? This guy at one point was a really famous actor. So she's, yeah, that's my dad. And I'm like, no way. And I said, that is crazy. I said, a friend of mine created this show. I named the show. The show was starring this guy. It was a kind of a docu-series reality show about this guy. A friend of mine, a guy that I worked with and I know pretty well, a friend, created that show. So she goes, that show destroyed my life. And great, Ben. Great. So glad you brought that up, Ben. So glad that you brought up that your friend created this thing that destroyed her life. As if she wasn't fragile already. As if you didn't just make things worse. So anyways, the air went out of the room, and I was like, oh, well, I'm sorry. And let's shoot. Yeah. So how did I deal with that? Kindness, understanding, compassion. I didn't dwell on it. I didn't call attention to it. I noted it. And I expressed, my concern and how sorry I was that she had been through something like that. I also noted and expressed the strength that I saw in her. And we went about our way. We actually had an amazing session. And so I'm showing you this one picture. There were a lot of other pictures that, in my mind, the light was amazing that day. We were there at the right time in my studio. It's all natural light. She had this fragility about her, and she had, fragility is the word that comes to mind. She just seemed really raw, kind of on edge, for some reason, she was channeling that, and I think it comes through in the photos. She also came through as very powerful in the photos. I love them. They're some of my favorite work in recent memory, although this was 4, 5, or 6 years ago. Countess has gone on. I think she got married. I think she lives in the UK now. I don't know. I'm not in contact with her. I would love to photograph her again sometime. I think she's a cool person. Obviously, having parents who are celebrities, and that's a whole thing that I can't imagine. I grew up in a cabin in the middle of nowhere in Alaska, so I don't know what it's like to grow up with a famous parent that has a lot of issues. That's got to be tough. How do you establish rapport with your subject? Did I start my timer? Oh, dude, I didn't start my timer on this one. I forgot. I've been having a timer on these because I get so long-winded. So, we're off the reservation here. We don't have a timer. We're just flying free. This could be a long video. Listen, the key is you need to, and this is what I didn't mention. This is why I continued this and made this part 2. It is important for you as the photographer to create an air of safety. Okay? You need to make your subject feel safe in your presence. Okay? Now, meaning that if, I'm a pretty big, some might say scary looking guy. I don't think I'm scary looking, but people have told me I'm scary looking. And if I'm not smiling, I definitely look scary. And I am a good sized person. And my studio is somewhat remote. It's under a bridge somewhere outside of town. It's like a haul to get there. It takes an effort. So I'm very conscious. If I go out to my studio with a nice young lady that I haven't met before, I need to make her feel very safe all the time. I need to not be a freaking creep. I need to be a friend. I need to be a sort of beacon of strength and safety. Safety is key. Be someone that you would want your wife or your mother or your daughter to hang out with, and you'd be like, oh yeah, they're going to be fine. And I don't mean from like a badass standpoint. I just mean, don't be a creep. Be compassionate, be warm, be understanding, be a friend, and be a good conversationalist. Be kind. It's really that simple. And, the story I told about Jonica in the first video and the story about Countess in this one, I've got a lot of other stories, and people show up. A lot of times they're in traffic for a couple hours and they're just frazzled. A lot of times they have things going on in their life that you don't know anything about. I've had people tell me stories later, or I learned things like that was going on and we were taking pictures. So just understand that a session with someone, a portrait session, whether it's 2 minutes or 2 hours, there is a whole life going on for that person that you don't even know about, and you may never know about, or you may find out about. So just be open. Be the kind of person that you would want your loved ones to hang out with. And that's kind of it, folks. Look, just be compassionate, be open, be understanding, calibrate your own frequency so that it's not freaking anybody else out. And this is something that it takes a little time to learn how to do that. It takes experience. It takes practice. The best thing you can do to learn how to establish rapport with a subject is to shoot as many people as possible in as many different situations where maybe you have 30 seconds to make a portrait, maybe you have 2 hours. It takes reps, and it takes bouncing yourself off of people and learning how to do that. Do you ever notice how like bartenders are just kind of super casual and most of the time, and they just have a good kind of rapport with people? It's because they're seeing hundreds of people every night, night after night, week after week, month after month. They're just really good at like, hey, what's going on? Their frequency is, nice and balanced. And you need to get to that stage with your portraiture. You need to be confident in your skills. That's number one. And then you just need to learn how to balance yourself out, not get freaked out by somebody else's energy, and learn how to sort of bring their energy down to yours, or maybe elevate it if that's the kind of images you want to make. But it's a case-by-case situation, and it's going to take experience. And the best thing you can do is get out there and shoot as many people as you can. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Get out there and take some portraits.